Let's open in a word of prayer. Lord, we come to you this morning amazed at all that you would do for us, Lord. At the way that you came, at the way that you displayed your power, your wonder, your glory. You are the chief purple cow, as we will see this morning. We ask now that you would indeed get our attention through the nativity, through each of our lives. So we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. So this morning we celebrate. Gunnar, can you light some candles for me? Would you mind? I think you got the power. So this morning we light our final candle. So you can light all of them. And then last, light the center one when you're done. Push it like you mean it. This one. Yep. Mm-hmm. Child-proof. I think if you just... Oh. Can you take it from me? Now squeeze it. Again. There you go. So we have hope, of course, which was our first week. Peace, our second week. Joy, our third week, which is the different colored candle. And then last week was love. You can go ahead and light that center candle. And then this morning, of course, the one who provides it all, the one who makes it all possible. I think you got it. Go ahead. Let me see if I can. Yeah, go ahead. We didn't practice this, so. Nice job, Gunnar. Thank you. So, my argument this morning, so your first blank is Christ candle at the top there. The Christ candle is our final candle this morning. So there's a book out that I had to read for a class I ended up dropping, so I ended up reading the book anyway, so you're going to get out of it what I got out of it because I had to read it. No, but the book is by Seth Godin, and it's a marketing book, it's a communication book, and the premise of the book, because again, if you think about it, or whether you're uncomfortable with it, we are in marketing. I mean, we are propagating a message that we are trying to get across to the world, and so the question, it's a good thing to ask the question, is how is the message that we're delivering coming across? Well, Seth Godin believes that advertising is making a major shift. So you can't just put something on a television commercial anymore and expect it to be successful. In fact, most young people don't even watch television anymore. They consume all of their information through their devices. So he says, if you're driving along in a trip, now around here, you guys seen cows. Have anybody in here ever seen a purple cow? Now imagine if you were driving and you came across somebody's farm, and out in the middle of that farm was a purple cow. I just got to ask you, if you saw a purple cow, would you stop to take a look at the purple cow? You would, right? But because you've always seen a black cow or a black and white cow, the premise is that in order to get people's attention, you need to come up with a purple cow. That's the premise of the book, right? Because people aren't going to pay attention anymore to your old cow. So that's your first blank. The purpose of the purple cow is to get your attention, right? And marketing wants to get your attention because they want to sell you something. They want you to buy something. They want you to consume something. But I've discovered that the nativity story, oh my, was a master class on the purple cow principle. So that's your second blank. The nativity is a master class. Now, if you don't know what a master class is, that's when you can learn like guitar from Eddie Van Halen. Of course, he's dead now. Or you can learn cooking from Gordon Ramsay, right? So a master class is the person who's the best at something teaching you how to do it. God, through the Nativity, gave a master class on the purple cow principle because he wants to get your attention. So I'm going to show you how purple cowish the Nativity is with 3 examples this morning. Of course, we're all familiar with the Nativity story. That's why I have to come at you a different way, right? Because how many have heard this story before, the Nativity? It's not your first time hearing it. Right, so I have to do a purple cow moment in order to get you to look at it differently. So here's our first passage, which we looked at. Now, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod, that's going to be our first purple cow moment, the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose, and we've come to worship him. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And assembling all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where this Messiah, Christ, was born. And they told him, well, in Bethlehem of Judea, for it is written by the prophet, and you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for you shall come forth you a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. All right, so our first purple cow moment is in this moment when Herod is the king. So Jesus chose, God in his divine plan, chose to come and be born at the time when this man was ruling. His name is Herod. Now, I just want to show you a few of his accomplishments so that you can get an idea of how purple cow God is, all right? So if you don't know much about Herod the Great, the reason we call him Herod the Great is because, well, he was great. He built a lot. And he was the first Herod, so it's like Pharaoh. Well, we have Herod the Great, Herod Antipas, Herod Anon. So he's the first Herod. And back in the day, there was this area which we call the Temple Mountain today, where the Dome of the Rock is. And he was in power over that area. And so he loved the people. Well, he loved them to worship him. So he built them what we call Herod's Temple. I know, it's pretty cool. Herod's Temple. So he built this. So he's great because he was a master builder. Now, if he would have just built a temple for him, that would have been a big deal. But that's not all. He built a temple for them. He built one of the largest seaports of all time. This is Caesarea Maritima. You can go see it today. This is what it looks like from the air. So this is the cathedral here. These stacks are down here, so we're looking south down the coast. This is what it would have looked like in Herod's day. This is 25 BC. He's making these accomplishments. That's why we call him Herod the Great. One more of his many, many building accomplishments. This is a great one. If you ever go to Israel, you must go to Masada. Masada is Herod's summer village. Up on a cliff, this is what it would have looked like in his day. Up on the cliff, he had separate palaces that he could overlook. It was an impenetrable fortress that nobody could get to. In fact, during the last siege in 70 AD, the last remnants of the warriors came up and hid, and it took Rome a while to build a ramp, a siege ramp, up to the city to finally take it. So here's your first purple cow moment. God came in a feeding trough. At a time when people are building like this, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the altogether lovely one, decides to come in a feeding trough. A feeding trough in a stable. That's a purple cow. That's a purple cow. Because if you were the King of Kings and you were the Lord of Lords and you were some powerful king, you certainly would want to get the world's attention, and you would be born, well, in somewhere like this, by certainly. Somewhere in the lap of luxury. There was plenty of it in that time, but that's not what Jesus chose to come. And he tells us exactly why when he encounters another rich guy who was probably a little person. That's why he was short in stature. You think Matthew from The Chosen, if you've seen that. So he was a tax collector, and if you're a tax collector, you have to betray your people because you have to be Jewish, and then you have to take taxes from Jewish people. So here he is looking, and then Jesus comes to him and tells him exactly why he came. The Son of Man came to seek and to save that which is lost. In a dirty, lowly manger, God came in order to get your attention, right? So he has to do, if he comes like everyone else comes, if he comes in luxury like everyone else comes, and the only people that can really connect with him, the only people that can really relate to him are the successful or the powerful. So God chooses to come into a feeding trough. You know, I never saw this before. This is one of those things I discovered for the first time. Jesus was born in a feeding trough, but that's not all. He was also born in a town called Bethlehem. Can anybody tell me what Bethlehem means in Hebrew? Close. House of bread. Think about this. The Son of God being born in a feeding trough in a town called bread, so that you would know that Jesus is the bread of life. That's what he's sending you. Oh, Bethlehem, oh, Ephraim, you are little. So God is doing things to connect to the little people, to the poor, to seek and save the lost. So coming in a manger in Bethlehem, so the bread of life, even God is picturing in the way he's coming that you and I need him, the sustenance, the feeding trough. Or let me say it directly to you. Your soul needs Jesus the same way your body needs food. And Jesus, wanting to get your attention, chose to come in a way that would connect with you, that would connect with me, that would connect with anyone. And God, again, chose a place, a lowly place, like Bethlehem, because he wanted you to know that you are invited. So he didn't pick Caesarea Philippi. He didn't pick Caesarea Maritima or Joppa. He chose Bethlehem, and we just see that Bethlehem is little. It's least. It's the exact opposite of what you would expect. In fact, when we read the Beatitudes, we're going to see that when you go through the scriptures, that Jesus is the master at purple cow principles. Blessed are you who are poor. Like, that's not what you would expect him to say. The second thing that I want to point to, so the feeding, the where it was, is who he came to. Jesus chose the first people that he could have made an announcement. He chose wise men who were from where? The east. That means they're what? Jews or Gentiles? Gentiles. Not only did he choose to reveal himself first, he didn't choose to go to Caiaphas, the high priest. He didn't choose to go to the scribes or the Pharisees or to the religious leaders. He chose to go and reveal himself first to wise men from the east. And then, let's get really lowly. Who's the lowest on the totem pole in all of society during that time? Well, then let's go ahead and make that announcement to shepherds. That's a purple cow. It's a purple cow moment, because the reason that you would do exactly the opposite of what you would think is so that God can say to you and to me, I'm going to come to shepherds, I'm going to come to wise men to the east. Yes, I'm a Jewish king. Yes, I'm a Jewish Messiah. But there it is, right there in the declaration. I bring you good news of great joy that will be for all people. Well, I got good news for you this morning. All people includes you. 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 Like, it's easy to read that and go, God came for humanity in general. God came for people in general. No, God chose Purple Cow people, Purple Cow place, and a Purple Cow moment so you would know that his invitation extends to you. And that's why we celebrate Christ. You know, the longer I'm a Christian, I remember John Piper making a statement. He said this. He said, if you could be in heaven, all your family is there, all your loved ones, all the people that you like are there, and all the people that you don't like aren't there. At least you can't see them. All your problems are solved. All your fortunes are great. Everything is a bliss. You're pain-free. But the one problem when you get to heaven is Jesus isn't there. Would you want to be in heaven if Jesus wasn't there? And I used to think, well, yeah, because it's heaven. But the longer I'm a Christian, especially as I struggle and I sojourn on this life, who are you trusting in to get you home? The longer I'm a Christian, the more it better be Jesus I see first. It better be him. And he is the one that I'm going to want to, he's the one that's getting you through. He's the one that's going to get you through. And I'm thinking, and again, you all know this, yesterday was Don Bauer's 95th birthday. And God wanted to celebrate his 91st birthday with him in heaven. Man, that's sad for you. But Jesus is like, and I know Don was like ready to go. So our hope is in a person, not a place, but a person who came to rescue you, who came for you. It's an invitation for you to respond to that gospel response. Let's pray. Lord, as we think this morning about all that you have done, that you just took the first step in what we're celebrating. This is a long step, Lord, in obedient acts. Lord, it's got to be about you. Because heaven isn't enough to get me through chronic pain. Heaven isn't enough to get me through the sorrow of the loss of a loved one. No, I need you. I need to see you. I need to feel you. I need to sense your presence, your touch, your power. It's about you, Jesus. And that's what we sing, and that's our declaration as we go into this new year. All glory be to Christ in our lives. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.